we've been talking about this all morning long, and a lot of people have been coming at us saying, hey, the Cowboys were the number one scoring offense last year. How it's hilarious that y'all think that they fell off at some point. And I think that we were very critical of what the Cowboys did against the really good teams and did outside of their division last year. And then that was something else we started looking at this year and trying to pay attention to. I think we think going into the season, Mike, that the defense is going to be something that props this team up until the offense gets its legs under itself. But you did the work, man. You sat down and you put in the spreadsheet. You were doing all the Microsoft Access stuff doing over there. So I'm really
Microsoft
He's
Access.
got a PowerPoint. Yeah, that's an old school, man. You don't even know what about Access, do you? But here it is, Mike. What is the reason the Cowboys offense was number one in scoring last year?
Well, this is amazing, the difference. In the NFC East, Cowboys have 6 games. Last year in those 6 games, they averaged 40 points per game.
40.
Their defense, I know we're talking offense.
Hold on. They averaged 40 points per game.
40 a game.
In just their division, but in the entirety of the season, they were at 30 points.
Scored 240 points in 6 games.
Okay. Wow.
In the other 11 games, they scored 290 points. If you want to add the playoff game, in 12 games, they scored 307 points. So they averaged 40 points a game versus the NFC East. Versus the rest of the NFL, 26.4. If you want to add the playoff game, it was 25.6.
Ooh, that's a dip.
So if you want to look at what they did, is they're the number one team in football offensively off of one thing and one thing only. They get to play the Giants, they get to play the Eagles, and they get to play the Commanders 6 times total. 40. Not only this, how about this? Their average margin of victory in those 6 games, 22.2. In the NFL,
in the NFC East games?
In the NFC East, they averaged 40. They gave up 17.8 in those 6 games. So you're winning in the NFL, where most games are decided by a touchdown or less. It's supposed to be a very competitive situation in the NFL where it's not college football. It was college football for the Dallas Cowboys in the NFC East, going 6-0, averaging 40, giving up 17.8, winning by 22.2.
It's like OU taking advantage of the Big 12 right there.
Yeah, 100%.
Wow.
Now, if you look at the rest of the NFL, in the 11 games played, I'll just do the 11 games and not the playoff game, but I can add the playoff game in there if you want me to. Against the rest of the NFL, the Cowboys go 6-5. Cowboys average 26.36 points. They give up 22.8.
Whoa.
So that's about a 3.5 point win.
And that's
so they did.
Close.
They scored more.
They
scored more than they gave up, averaging 26.4. If you want me to round up there, giving up 22.8, and you go 6-5 in those games. You go 6-0. I just couldn't believe it. I could not believe how big it was that they averaged. Average victory was 22.2 points against the NFC East, averaging 40 points a game, dropping by approximately 14 points when they played all the other NFL teams.
What was the against the East, what was the points per game they gave up? 18, you said?
17.8.
That's fantastic. Like, that's awesome. If you're holding teams to around 17 points a game, that is you are an elite team. But that's against the worst teams in the NFL.
Right.
Like, those 3 teams were very poor teams.
The Eagles did make the playoffs, right?
Here's my take on Philadelphia. I think when it comes to them, the Cowboys get up for that team. I don't know, and it seems like Dak gets really excited to play that team, and that week just seems like this is our best competition in this division. We're going to go out there and show them why we're the best team. So we
didn't get to see January 8th. Philadelphia sat out because they made the playoffs. They're like, we can't do any better. We're going to be, I believe they were the 7th seed, the last team in. We can't improve at all, but we've made the playoffs. So they sat out, and the Cowboys won that game 51-26 as the Cowboys played all their starters, went after it, and they demolished Philadelphia. Early in the year, September 27th, week 3, the Cowboys win 41-21 against Philadelphia. So kind of in a weird way last year, they never got to play. I'm not a fan of Jalen Hurts. If you're listening to the show a lot, you know this. Jalen Hurts did get better as the season went on. So in week 3, they got to play Jalen Hurts, still trying to figure out the NFL. He got a little bit better as the season went on. I still don't think he's a good quarterback. I think he's a below average quarterback in the NFL and will be this year. But they have a very good team. We did not get to play that team on January 8th. They sat out while the Cowboys, went on to do what they did. But when you just look at this, and you look at, if you add the playoff game, because that's another non-divisional opponent for the Dallas Cowboys, it's 25.6 points per game, giving up 23 points a game, approximately. So you just look at it and you go, okay, well, we are around a 500 team, just like our record says. We're a little bit better, averaged a few more points than we gave up. But when you look at this, man, do the Cowboys take advantage of that division. And hopefully they will again. If you want to average 30-plus points again this year, you're probably going to need to average close to 40 against the NFC East, where they scored 41 points. Then the next game, they scored 44 points. Then the next game, 27. Then the next game, 21. Then 56 against Washington and 51 against Philadelphia. Take it for what it's worth, but it is what it is. You scored 40 a game against a horrible division, and that's good. You took advantage of your schedule there. You only gave up 17.8, but can we really expect again to win our games by average 22 points a game in our division?
That's the really big part of that question and the big part of this topic, because somebody said past results is not reflection upon the upcoming future. Absolutely not. That's what we're trying to point out.
That's why the Cowboys always miss the playoffs the next year. So if you want to look at it, the Cowboys kind of in the history of the Cowboys over the last 15 years, we're not going to make the playoffs this year.
Mike, do you happen to know what the number would be if you didn't include that Atlanta game? Because that Atlanta game definitely put that number was 26.4. I'm going to presume that the number would be closer like 24.
Well, I can do this.
I don't know how to do math. I'm really bad at it.
All I got to do is this. Give me just a second.
Okay.
It's 290 minus 43, which gives you 247 points. 247 divided by 10 now, because it's one less game. 24.7.
Yeah, about 24, like I thought there. Yeah, it's still, what did I say? I said 24, didn't I?
You don't get to take credit for just randomly throwing out a number.
I didn't want to take that out, just like I didn't take out the Philadelphia game at the end of the year where you got to play their B teamers versus your A team. But that was a game. There's a limited sample. This is the tough thing about football is it's not like, that's why in baseball and in basketball and in hockey, numbers mean a lot more than in football, because in only 17 games, if you take the first 17 games of the Rangers or the first 7 or the last 17 games or the first 7, you can do a lot in manipulation of 17 games, but that's all the games that are played in the NFL, and so those are the numbers that you get.
I think, Mike, on a weekly basis, the numbers that I really do look at are what is a team good at, what is a team poor at. If the Cowboys are really, let's say, and I'm not suggesting that that's going to be the case, if the Cowboys are really good at running the ball and their opponent is really poor at stopping the run, you're going to be able to expose that team that week. And so I think whenever it comes to those types of games, those are the numbers that are very important. Being, hey, we were the best scoring offense. That was their calling card. Then they go up against San Francisco, who we talked to a bunch of different people a couple weeks ago in Oxnard, Mike, and they said that was a buzzsaw. We thought we were prepared for that team, and we were not prepared for that team. And I don't know if it was that they weren't prepared for the physicality or if San Francisco was just better at that moment. But the Cowboys didn't score the points that were prerequisited of being the best scoring offense in the entire league last year.
I think what's tough is we were 12-5 and saying, hey, we're the higher seed, home field advantage. We should win this game. I was worried about the matchup, but when you really look at what happened to the Cowboys from somewhat Thanksgiving on, you lose at Kansas City 19-9. You lose to Las Vegas on Thanksgiving 36-33 in overtime. You win at New Orleans 27-17, and you lose to the Arizona Cardinals 25-22. Loss, win, loss. Those were the last times you played outside of your division. But when you add in, hey, at Washington, at New York, home against Washington, at Philadelphia, you destroy those teams. It's not even close. They're non-competitive kick butt games for the most part. And so those divisional games actually screw up our brain in thinking that, Hell, we're really good. Did you not see what we just did against Washington? We won 56-14.
Man, from the 903, how does this compare to when Brady was destroying the AFC East? Sounds like we could focus on blowing up our schedule outside of our division.
They blew it up everywhere. That's the thing that you guys won't get through your heads as just Cowboys homers is he took advantage of everything. Yes, he would go 6-0, but he wouldn't go 500 the rest of the way. He didn't go 6-0 and then go, 5-5 type of deal. I mean, he would actually, in those other games that Tom Brady and Bill Belichick would play, they'd lose 3 games. They wouldn't go undefeated against all the rest of the NFL. But when you looked at the rest of their schedule, they'd go, okay, we went 9-3 against the rest of the NFL, and we went 6-0 against our crap division.